Welcome back to Cloud 2K, and this is the Cloud Report. We're back again with another Cloud Report, and today we're doing things a little bit differently. We are actually going to start with our questions of the week. I know we usually say that for the end of the episode, but there's a reason I'm doing it first, and you'll understand in a second. The first question we have is from Brighton Season, predictions on who will be the play-in teams in both conferences so far, like based on what we've seen so far. And I was kind of doing this a little bit before I started recording. I was looking through the standings, and I'm going to start with the Eastern Conference. Right now, the play-in is the Hawks at the 7th seed, 8-seeded Nets, 9-seeded Pacers, and 10-seeded Pistons. And I'm looking, I'm like, what teams do I think can get better? What teams do I think can get worse? Now, if you look at the top 6 seeds in the Eastern Conference, it's Cavs, Celtics, Magic, Knicks, Heat, and the Bucks. And honestly, I think those guys are going to be the top 6 seeds. I don't see any of those teams down below in the play-in jumping them, unless maybe the Nets or the Hawks take over the Heat, because the Heat are always a team that kind of finds their way into the bottom of the playoff bracket. But I do think the top 6 is pretty consistent for right now. So then I look at the Hawks, the Nets, the Pacers, and the Pistons, and I say, okay, the Pistons are the 10 seed, but honestly, I like the way they're playing right now, and with Cade coming back, I think they're going to be a play-in team. I think this is finally the year where they kind of take that jump into being a play-in team. The Pacers, they have a lot of talent for being as low as they are. They've just got off to a really, really rough start. A lot of that's because Tyrese Halliburton's got off to a really, really rough start. So I'm banking on Tyrese Halliburton kind of getting back, maybe not like his former, what he was beginning of last year, but at least a somewhat all-star level point guard. I think they're going to hold on. The Brooklyn Nets is where things kind of change. So they're 9-11 right now. Cam Thomas is going to be out for probably about a month with his injury. They're dealing with some other injuries, and it's like this is a Nets team that's not good enough to really make any noise in the playoffs. I think if they were to somehow get into the play-in, I think they would lose their first play-in game, honest to God. Maybe one of them gets hot. Maybe like Cam Thomas or Dennis Schroeder or Cam Johnson, somebody gets hot and they win that game. But I don't think they do anything in the playoffs. I think they're more worried about having a good draft pick, trying to get into Ace Bailey, Cooper Flagg sweepstakes. And I think because of that, at some point they're going to pull the rug on a season. I think at some point they're going to trade Cam Johnson. They're going to trade Dorian Finney-Smith. Maybe Dennis Schroeder gets traded depending on how he keeps playing. A team might want him for a playoff run. And I think they're going to bottom out and be bad. I think out of the 4 teams, I think they're the ones that are going to fall out. The Hawks, they have Trae Young. Dyson Daniels has been really good. DeAndre Hunter had a really, really good game. And Neko Kongwu. Like the Hawks have some pieces where I feel confident that they, I feel confident that they could hold a play-in spot. So that leaves us one play-in spot open. And I think right now, the 11 through 15 seed is the Bulls, the Hornets, the Raptors, the 76ers, and the Wizards. This is tough, but I'm going to go to the Philadelphia 76ers. They're 3-14 right now. I know it is really, really bad. But at 3-14, they're about 6 games behind the Pistons for the last play-in spot. And I think over the course of the next, 70-some games, I think are about 70-some, or 60-some games, I should say. About the next, 65-ish games, I think they can close that gap pretty easily. And I think they could be on the top end of the play-in, honestly, like the 7-8 seed. I don't know if they're going to crack the top 6 seed with how far back they are, but I think the Philadelphia 76ers are going to be in the play-in. I have my play-in in the East being the Hawks, the 76ers, the Pacers, and the Pistons. And again, those guys could change up in there somewhere, but I think that's going to be the teams. Western Conference. Right now, the play-in is the Dallas Mavericks, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Phoenix Suns, and the San Antonio Spurs. Now, notable teams that are missing the playoffs right now are the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Sacramento Kings. I look at this. You have the Thunder, Rockets, Warriors, Grizzlies, Nuggets, and Lakers as your top 6 seeds. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the Spurs fall out of the play-in. I don't think they're quite near that. And I think the Clippers fall out of the play-in as well. Maybe they hold into a 10 seed, but I think the Lakers fall into the play-in. If I'm being completely honest, I think the Mavericks jump the Lakers. I think the Suns, when they get back healthy, are going to be the 7th seed. I have 7-seeded Phoenix Suns, 8-seeded Los Angeles Lakers, 9-seeded, I think, the Timberwolves I'm going to put in the play-in. Maybe they're not going to be the 9th seed, but I'm going to do Timberwolves, and then I'm going to do the Kings as the last play-in team. I have Lakers, Suns, Timberwolves, and Kings as my Western Conference play-in. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you agree with, what you disagree with. That's okay. Now, the second fan question comes from Levi Glass. He says, do you think the Dallas Cowboys can run the table and go 10-7? And the reason I'm doing this first, I'm doing these questions first, is because this episode, I know you guys know me as a basketball page for the most part. I play some other games. If you watched me earlier, I played Madden, played college football, and did a series on them as well. But today, I actually want to switch it up and talk about the Cowboys. I know, a lot of people probably just clicked off on that, and I understand that. But we'll answer the question first. Do you think the Cowboys can run the table and go 10-7? My answer is no. And my answer is, my second part of that is I hope they don't. I really, really hope they don't do it. Coming off back-to-back wins against the Commanders and the Giants, two division teams, we have the Bengals on Monday night, December 9th, then the Panthers, the Buccaneers, the Eagles, and Commanders again to finish out the season. I'm realistically looking at 2 to 3 wins. I think they're going to beat the Panthers. I think they're going to beat the Commanders again. Now, the Buccaneers is going to be a tough game. The Bengals is going to be a tough game. I think the Eagles are just a better team than us. I think the Eagles beat us. I look at this Cowboys team, right? And to answer your question, Levi, no, I don't think they run the table. Now, to get into what I'm talking about for today's episode is the Dallas Cowboys. They're 5-7. They're 2 and 2, I believe, since the Dak Prescott injury, maybe 2 and 3. It's been a few games now. He's out for the rest of the year. Micah's just not coming back. DeMarcus Lawrence is still out. Brandon Cooks finally just came back. Trayvon Diggs has been missing games. DeRon Bland's just now coming back. Our offensive line, Zach Martin's been missing a lot of games recently. Tyler Guyton's missed a lot of games. They are definitely injured. They're just injured. They're so completely injured that it gives us no reason at all. No reason at all to win out and make a wild card game just to lose. People, I'm a Dak Prescott fan. I like Dak Prescott. Do I think he might get slightly overrated? Maybe in a world, but I still think he's a consistent top 10 quarterback in this league. And if you disagree with me, you either don't like him, you aren't watching these games, or you're feeding in the narratives. Because if you watch Dak on a daily or a weekly basis, I should say, you can see he's consistently a top 10 quarterback. Now, to everybody else's defense, he does have some boneheaded plays. He has some interceptions. You're just like, wow, okay. He's had some stinkers as well. But that's just kind of what the Cowboys quarterbacks have been since Troy Aikman. Like Tony Romo, I love Tony Romo, but he had his fair share of bonehead interception, his game-losing plays. He didn't have any success in the playoffs either. So it's like, I love both of them. But to think Cooper Rush should be the starter. I've seen legitimate conversations on Twitter that people think Cooper Rush should be the full-time starter over Dak Prescott. I'm convinced you don't watch the game. You look at the box scores, you see they're 7-1 with them. They're 7-2 with them. Maybe it's something like that. He has a good record with the Cowboys. People look at that like, oh, he can get it done. Our defense has been really, really good in pretty much every single game he's played. We finally got Rico. They gave the ball to Rico Dowdle. Finally, and he had a 100-yard game. He was our first 100-yard rusher since 2022, I believe. It's been a long time. This Cowboys team is very, very frustrating, and it all starts up top with Jerry Jones. And I've made this very clear on the podcast. I'm not a fan of Jerry Jones. I haven't been a fan of Jerry Jones in a very, very long time. And the more he keeps running this team, the more I dislike him. I mean, we lose the playoff game to the Packers last offseason. We get our ass kicked by the Packers. And he comes out and he makes a comment that we're going to go all in for the next season. Okay. They're the Cowboys. They have the brand recognition to bring in players. A lot of players want to play for the Cowboys, and we had some money over the offseason. Now, they waited too long to pay Dak Prescott, so we lost out on some money on that. They paid CeeDee Lamb. We tied up a lot of money in that. They refused to go sign anybody else. We let Stephon Gilmore walk. We let a couple guys walk and brought in Eric Kendricks, who early in the season had some good games, and since has not been great for us. They didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. They passed on Derrick Henry, who openly said he wanted to play in Dallas. He was living in Dallas. I think he still has a house in Dallas. Jerry Jones is like, oh, we didn't have the money to pay him. Not true. I don't know if he just didn't know that or whoever was supposed to be in charge of that didn't tell him that. It was disgusting. It was awful. You come into this season and you have a very, very weird team. You have CeeDee Lamb and really no other receivers. Brandon Cook gets hurt early on. So it's CeeDee Lamb, it's like Jalen Tolbert. Brooks was out there for a little bit. They had Flourney suit up a couple games. And Turpin, who they really didn't give them the ball. It was nobody outside of CeeDee Lamb. Jake Ferguson really kind of had a breakout season last year with the Cowboys. Kind of had a hard time getting him involved. And then he gets hurt now. And now Schoonmaker's been having a good game. And people are like, oh, maybe Schoonmaker is better than Jake Ferguson. No, I'm happy that Ferguson's kind of developing and being at least a somewhat viable option for us. But if you think he's better than Jake Ferguson, again, I'm convinced you either don't like Ferguson or you're not watching these games or you're box score watching. And to that, I hate when people box score watch and then try to talk about games because it's very, very apparent you do not watch the games based on what you're saying. But it is what it is. A lot of people box score watch. It is what it is. Now, so you have those injuries. The offensive line has been dealing with injuries. Terrence Steele is really not good. Tyler Guyton's a rookie. He's been thrown around a lot. He's had a lot of growing pains. Zach Martin. I love Zach Martin. He's one of the best guards I think the Cowboys have ever had. He's one of the best guards in the league for a long, long time. He's at the end of his career. He's getting beat pretty consistently. Tyler Smith's been really good. We've had a lot of people in there, like Bass and stuff like that. The offensive line has not been great compared to what it was in years past. The running back room, they bring in Zeke. He's not been good. He's fumbled the ball a lot. Like I said, that was our first 100-yard rusher in almost 2 years. Or I guess it's been a while. It's been a while since we had a 100-yard rusher. So you give Dak a very skeleton offense that even then gets hurt. Then you look on the defensive side of the ball. Micah gets hurt early. DeMarcus Lawrence gets hurt early. Deron Bland missed the first, 10 games of the season with his injury. Now we got Thomas, and we got multiple safeties out. Josh Butler just tore his ACL. He's out for the season. It's like every time we get something going good, somebody gets hurt. Mozzie Smith's had some decent games recently, so hopefully maybe have at least something there to D-tackle spot. DeMarion Overshown has been really, really good all year and had a really big breakout game against the Giants this past week on Thanksgiving. But he missed his whole rookie year with, I believe, an ACL injury as well. So it's just like this team has been battered and beaten with injuries. And Mike McCarthy, man, I just don't like him. I've never been a fan of Mike McCarthy. I remember a couple years ago when we were in the sweepstakes for a head coach after the Jason Garrett thing, I was very apparent that I did not want Mike McCarthy because I thought he was a guy that was carried pretty heavily by an Aaron Rodgers. Now, I think a lot of coaches somewhat get carried by their quarterbacks. I'm not going to sit here and say Bill Belichick's not a good quarterback, but he had one of the greatest quarterback. He had the greatest quarterback of all time for damn near 20 years. Mike McCarthy had one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL for, a long time. I don't even know how long he was there for. I just think sometimes head coaches can get kind of carried by their quarterbacks, and I think Mike McCarthy just got overrated in that sense, and I think you're seeing it a lot now in Dallas. The clock management, it's something he's never been good at, and it's really kind of cost us some games sometimes too. I have a lot to say about the Cowboys. I've been a fan since I was 3-4 years old, since I started watching football. And do I think they're going to win a championship in the next couple years? Probably not. I don't know if we're going to be a serious contender until Jerry Jones is gone. But then you look at Stephen Jones, and you're not looking at anything differently. It's the apple didn't fall far from the tree, or whatever that saying is. They're in a really, really bad spot. We have a lot of good players. We have a lot of talented players. Just one, health, and two, not being able to kind of round out the team with a lot of good role players, a lot of depth. Which is, again, Dallas is a team that just doesn't really do anything in free agency. We rely a lot on the draft. And to their credit, they usually draft pretty damn well. But when it comes to bringing in people who want to play for Dallas, they just refuse to do it. And it's frustrating because when you're the most successful franchise in the world, basically, with sports scene-wise, like the most, or not most successful, but most, like revenue, like they're making the most money, they're generating the most money. The brand is massive. The brand is so beyond football. People know who the Dallas Cowboys are. And you can't convince anybody to come play for you. I don't even know if it's convincing. It's the front office not reaching out to anybody and being like, hey, we'll bring you on. We could have gave Derrick Henry $8-9 million. I'm not saying that would have changed our season. I'm not saying we were contenders. But damn, the start of the season is probably a lot differently. Maybe all the injuries still happen. Maybe we still have a derailment of a season. But it's not even close to debate whether Derrick Henry would be better. Like, Derrick Henry would be better than what we got from Zeke and Rico. I don't know. I want them to... It's a tough spot. I don't want to watch the Cowboys lose. You don't want to watch your favorite team lose. But we need a top-end talent. We need receiver help. We need cornerback help with Trayvon Diggs, Bland, and Jordan Lewis. They're all dealing with their injuries. I hope they all come back next season. But we have injuries. We need defensive line help, safety help, linebacker help, offensive line help, running back help. The only position I don't think we shouldn't draft, I don't think we should draft a quarterback. I still trust in Dak Prescott. We just gave him that big old contract. They're not cutting Dak. It's not happening. Other than that, they could draft any position at all, and it would be an upgrade from what we have right now. It's awful how a team this big has such like a bad understanding, and I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Before I get too much deeper, let's get into a commercial break.
Oh, man.
Hey, you.
Who? Me?
What are you doing?
Nothing. I'm just kind of bored right now.
Do you like sports?
Yeah, I like sports.
How about podcasts?
I mean, yeah, who doesn't listen to a podcast nowadays?
Then you should check out Time Out with J&G. Check out Time Out with J&G every Wednesday as they give their expert opinions and professional picks on NFL, NBA, and college football. Anything you could want, they do. Check it out on the screen now. Let's go.
Whoa, this podcast is awesome. Thanks, weird voice.
So we're back from that commercial break, and there's not really much else I want to talk about because I could rant a long time about the Cowboys, but I don't think you guys want to sit here and hear it. Maybe you guys do because you guys don't like the Cowboys and you want to hear me talk shit about them. I understand that, but that's probably going to do it for today's episode. I know it's probably a little bit shorter than they've been in the past, but I'm trying not to make these videos super, super long. Let me know in the comments below. I've been doing a lot of videos on like reacting to like articles Bleacher Report's done. A lot of that's because my editor was on vacation for the holidays, so I was like, oh, let me get some other videos on here. But if you guys like that, I wouldn't mind doing like one of those a week as well with like the 2K videos and like the Friday fun videos. Let me know in the comments below what you think about these videos and like some other stuff you want me to react to. Maybe it's like I know Enjoy Basketball, like the brand that Kenny, KOT4Q, they release stuff every once in a while. Maybe I could like react to some of his stuff. Just let me know. I appreciate you guys watching. Go to like, comment, subscribe. I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers, but I cannot do that without each and every one of your help. I'll see you guys later. Peace.